Key West. How did this become paradise? Henry Flagler. One man could take credit for the transportation systems, the streets, popularity, and tourism of today's modern Florida. In 1862, Flagler founded Flagler and Salt Company to support the military during the Civil War. Then the Civil War ended 1865 and salt was no longer needed, and Flagler went bankrupt. But by 1867, Flagler was working with and became friends with John D. Rockefeller, who was looking for an investor in his up-and-coming company in the oil refinery. By 1870, Standard Oil was born, and by 1872, they were the leader in American oil refining industry and were producing 10,000 barrels of oil a day. By 1878, Flagler moved to Jacksonville, Florida for his wife's failing health. By 1881, her health failed her, and Flagler remarried, and 2 years later he traveled to St. Augustine with his new wife and turned his attention to the beautiful surroundings in Florida. By 1885, Flagler purchased a railroad system, which would later be known as the Florida East Coast Railway System, and started to build a hotel in St. Augustine. By 1888, tourists were flocking to the newly built hotel. 1890, Flagler had built a railroad bridge across the St. Johns River and purchased a hotel north of Daytona. By 1894, Flagler built on shores of Lake Worth in Palm Beach and then moved his railroad empire further south. And in 1896, he was finished building in West Palm Beach. But 1894 and 1895 brought severe freezes around Palm Beach. 60 miles further south was modern-day Miami, and they hadn't suffered the freezes. Julia Tuttle, the Florida East Coast Canal and Transportation Company, and the Boston and Florida Atlantic Coast Land Company offered Flagler land to bring his railroad further south even. By 1896, Flagler had also reached Biscayne Bay, where he dredges a channel, builds streets, develops the first water and power systems, and even financed the town's first newspaper. Now that Miami was established, Flagler married his third wife, and in 1905, when the United States took on the Panama Canal project, Flagler decided that he would extend his railroad another 156 miles south to the tip of Florida to take advantage of the United States' closest deepwater port to the Panama Canal. To accomplish this vision, Flagler would have to build his railroad on top of the water. The project involved more than 24 bridges to reach Key West and would take 7 years. On January 22nd, 1912, Henry Flagler officially arrived in Key West, and that is the original founder of the modern-day tourism in Key West and Florida.